gentlemen, welcome to the international webinar on effect of supply chain management to profitability of business, organized by IRAJ Webinars in association with ITIA Group. On behalf of entire organizing committee, I'm Isaac Mehra. Organizing secretary would like to welcome you all for this webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce our organization. The motto behind this non-profit association is to bridge the gap between students, professors, academics, and industrialists from multidiscipline. Apart from organizing various seminars, we have various highly rated science, engineering, technology, and management. Since our inception, we have been arranged various international conferences at various parts of the world, like New York, London, Australia, Hong Kong, Dubai, Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, India, etc. More than 1 lakh people across the globe are associates with us, and more than 5 lakh research papers have been presented and published during our journey. Today, I'm glad to welcome you all as a member of this fastest growing network for the advancement of science and technology in terms of research and innovation. Today, we were very much fortunate expert speaker and guest, education, Northwestern University, Ilocos, Philippines. Now I'd like to welcome our professor, Dr. Santos Parilla, to deliver the webinar.
Good morning, sir. So I'm here to present my study about supply chain management adoption and its effect on profitability of the Philippine MSMEs. So I have to share my PowerPoint presentation. Can you see it, sir?
Yes, I can see it, sir.
Okay. So supply chain management adoption and its effect to profitability of Philippine micro, small, medium enterprises. So the contents of my report would be the introduction of my paper, the methods, the results, and the discussion. So SCM, or supply chain management, describes the coordination of all supply chain activities. It is a philosophy that strives to integrate the dependent activities, people, and resources from the point of origin and ultimate destination in supply channels. It can be defined as a systematic, strategic coordination of the business's functions, processes, and transactions within the supply chain to improve the individual company's long-term performance and the supply chain. It has four components, namely logistics, operations, planning, and sourcing. So, supply chain management represents one of the most significant paradigm shifts of modern business management. It is composed of raw materials, processes of the business, and of course, the final output, which are the customers who are satisfied. So there are four most common supply chain practices. These are benchmarking, outsourcing, supply chain collaboration, supply chain integration. A vital and crucial part of the success of micro, small, medium enterprises is its supply chain management strategies. In the Philippines, um, we classify our enterprises according to micro. Micro meaning three 1 peso to 3 million capitalization. Small enterprises, which is 3 million won to 15 million pesos capitalization, and medium enterprises is 15 million won to 50 million pesos. So that's how we classify our businesses here in the Philippines. So according to some researchers, like Kristen C. and Kumar last 2002, supply chain management can result to better performance. According to Fraser, on the other hand, um, he suggests that in order to achieve the highest profitability and business performance, firms should link every aspect to financial matrix, and supply chain management goals are no exemption. And lastly, the latest one, which is Eugene and his company, said that it was found out, according to their research, it was found out that supply chain management system contributes on the profitability of the company. So that's how supply chain management practices affect your profitability or business performance of firms or companies here in the Philippines. So, according to my research, there are six problems that we are going to answer. These are: what is the organizational profile of these enterprises? The second one is: what is the level of adoption of supply chain management practices? The third one is: what are the perceived benefits of supply chain management? The fourth one is: what are the challenges of micro, small, and medium enterprises in adopting these supply chain management practices? And then the fifth one is: what is the level of operational efficiency in terms of profitability of these micro, small, and medium enterprises? And the last one is: what is the mediating effect of organizational profile to the relationship of um, adoption of supply chain management practices and the profitability of businesses. So this is my research framework. As you can see, the independent variable is the supply chain management adoption. The dependent variable is the profit margin, or in layman's term, profitability of SMEs. And the mediating variables would be the number of employees, form of business, and business size. So let's go to the participants of my study. I have surveyed 392 um, MSMEs in the Philippines, coming from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. These are the three major islands in the Philippines: Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. And all my respondents are located in these different areas of the Philippines. In terms of form of business, most of my respondents are single proprietorship. In terms of size of business, um, it is a small business. A majority of my respondents are small business or having a capitalization of 3 million won to 15 million pesos. And in terms of number of employees, they have usually 1 to 10 number of employees. So these are my respondents for the study: 392 micro, small, medium enterprises in the Philippines. So in terms of statistical analysis, a quantitative research design was used to present the study. Frequencies and weighted means were used to describe the extent of implementation, the benefits, and the challenges of supply chain strategies. And in terms of the mediation model, I used simple structural equation modeling, or the simple SEM, using Jamovi software. Um, was employed to estimate the parameters of the mediation model. So let's go to the results. In terms of adoption of supply chain management practices, I have asked my respondents of the five um, supply chain management practices. These are supplier customer relationship. The second one is in terms of customer relations. The third one is supply chain management in practices in terms of information sharing. The fourth one is supply chain management practices for information technology. And the last one is implementation of supply chain management practices for internal systems. So these are the five supply chain management practices that I have asked the respondents of my study. So let's first go to supply chain management practices for supplier customer relationship. So, supplier customer relationships means having a good relationship between customers and suppliers. And one of the most common strategies in the supply chain management practices is just in time method. In the Philippines, we highly implement this practice, the supplier customer relations. So, highly implemented. In terms of customer relations, supply chain management practices in terms of customer relations, customer relation strategy means the supply chain should be structured so that there is a common link between the products as such and the end customer. One of the tactics for this supply chain management practices is training in supply chain issues. And in the Philippines, we moderately implement supply chain management practices for customer relations. In terms of information sharing means distributing useful information system, people, or organizational units. The term information sharing can also be referred to as knowledge sharing or information integration. And one of the tactics of this supply chain management practices for information sharing is supplier partnership, which is moderately implemented in the Philippines. The fourth one is information technology. Information technology means that some manufacturing firms in the Philippines do not invest heavily in information technology because they are just backyard businesses, or in the Philippines we call it startup businesses, and their information technology is not that complicated. So, supply chain management practices for information technology is moderately implemented in the Philippines. The last one, as to adoption of supply chain management practices, is for internal systems. So internal systems refer to supply chain activities of within a company, precisely purchasing, production, sales, and distribution. So in the Philippines, we highly implement this supply chain management practices. So let's recap. So in terms of supplier customer relations, highly implemented. In terms of customer relations, it is moderately implemented. In terms of information sharing, it is moderately implemented. In terms of information technology, it is moderately implemented. And in terms of internal systems, it is highly implemented in the Philippines. So let's go to the third problem of my research. This is the benefits of supply chain management practices. According to the respondents, which is the 392 um, micro, small, and medium enterprises, the top three benefits of supply chain management practices are increased sales, better quality information, and increased response to customer needs. Increased sales because through supply chain management, better planning and better forecasting and better production is enhanced because of supply chain management practices. Better quality information, meaning the supply chain management gives out some quality information for the businesses to benchmark. And lastly, increased response to customer needs because supply chain management practices um, responds to customer needs. So these are the three um, benefits of supply chain management according to the micro, small, medium enterprises in the Philippines. And the challenges of supply chain management adoption, number one is increasing customer expectations, meaning if the customers know that we do or the businesses do supply chain management practices, the expectations of higher quality products and services is expected from them. The second challenge that these businesses say that they experience when they adopt supply chain management practices is high cost of raw materials. And the third one is high cost of doing business. So these are the supply chain management practices challenges as perceived by these micro, small, medium enterprises in the Philippines. And according to my research, um, 14.34% have a profitability of less than 25%. 37.91 percent have a profitability of 26% to 50%. Um, 35.27 or all the majority of them said that they have a profitability of 51 to 75%, and only 13% or 34 respondents said that they have a profitability of 76% to 100%. So only 258 because some of my respondents out of 329, only 258 respondents are valid because they are the ones who gave us the financial statements, which we that's the basis for computing their profitability. So only 258 respondents are valid. So in terms of the mediation results, um, first finding is there is no mediating effect of the three organizational profile to adoption of supply chain management strategies and profitability of manufacturing firms. Um, I must repeat, I used structural equation modeling in doing the mediation results. The second one is adoption of supply chain management strategies and profitability of manufacturing firms in the Philippines are statistically significant. This means that um, the micro, small, medium enterprises who adopt or who practice supply chain management tactics are most likely to be profitable, and in terms of their business performance, it's better. So it's safe to conclude that adoption of supply chain management affects the profitability of these micro, small, medium enterprises in the Philippines. The mediation model revealed that organizational profile that does not mediate the adoption of supply chain management strategies and profitability. It is safe to say, therefore, that whether the manufacturing companies is small or that they have just started, the effect of adopting supply chain management strategies will still be the same. Choosing the right supply chain cost to maintain at that particular time increased turnover and in turn boosted the profit of the company. In this connection, manufacturing firms should recognize and emphasize the importance of adopting supply chain management strategies. The results of this study demonstrated that the firms who focus on contemporary supply chain management strategies have higher profits and income. Thank you very much for listening. That's all for the effects of adoption of supply chain management to profitability of micro, small, medium enterprises. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor, for sharing your valuable time and for joining this webinar. I would like to thank all our sponsors and coordinators. I would also like to thank our president. We will happy to hear your comments and compliments or suggestion at our Facebook and Twitter page. This video will be available shortly in our YouTube channel. Kindly subscribe our official YouTube channel, IRAJ Conferences and Seminars, for all past and upcoming webinars and expert lectures. Thank you all. See you in another webinar soon. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.